Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder YASHAYA along with Elder Lawyer. That's right. We're here for your weekly Sabbath lesson. I hope you all are doing fine. All praises be to the Most High, AHAYAH, Bahashim YASHAYA, where we rock. We're here on this Sabbath. That's right. At the end of our celebration. That's right. The Feast of Dedication, even though it's a memorial. But we end that tonight, and I want to thank you all for your continual prayers operating during the time of the feast, as far as acknowledging the light, which is the menorah, the 7 churches of Christ during this week. And I'd like to also thank you all for your continued prayers for my mother, okay, who is in the hospital. I mean, what a gift for the Feast of Dedication. All right, so let's jump right in. Let's jump right in to our Sabbath lesson. And I know a lot of you were chopping at the bits when you seen the title. But before we do that, Elder Lawyer, let's do the Shema.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure our sound is good and everything is good here. All right, let's go, Elder Lawyer.
Shema Yasha'Allah AHAYAH AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah AHAYAH AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. That's right. This is the gathering of Christ Church coming before you all with a great lesson that we've put together. Israelites surviving a pagan world. Okay, now this is not a lesson where there's some indictment on society concerning their worships. All right. This have everything to do with us understanding the light we were called to. We were reborn in a pagan world and need to understand how to navigate within it. Right? Because something happens during the awakening when we realize that we've been re-educated. That's the word they would like to use. Okay? That we were assimilated into a pagan culture that we once participated, celebrated, and felt some kind of love and value towards. And sometimes we tend to forget that, right, when coming to the truth. That really we must navigate living in a pagan world. Not to excuse the wickedness, but to be an example, like the scriptures say, or an example to those who have never heard of such worships, who have never understood such a God. The examples that the disciples place in front of the world with that true ministry. Now, why am I going here? Why am I going here? Surviving a pagan world. In a nutshell, folks. And this is the reason Gentile churches in particular, and they need to do this more so, refuse to go into the Old Testament. This is why they refuse to go there. Because it gives us the original worships of the Bible, the original, as they would like to call it, the religion or doctrine of the Bible, and it, to some degree, conflicts with their pagan beliefs. They don't want to go into the Old Testament to see, that's right, folks, the similarities between the pagan gods, the God of Israel, was at adamant war against. They don't want that conflict to say, well, hold up, my Christmas, my Easter, my Sunday worship, would be in conflict with the God of the Bible if we took on the doctrine of the Old Testament as well as the New. Right? That's why they don't want to go into the Old Testament, because why? It would conflict with their core beliefs. Right? Now, understanding that if their core beliefs are taken away, what do they have to fall back on? Right? If it's taken away without someone presenting the true spirit of this Bible and its doctrine, they'll turn into atheists altogether or believe nothing. So you have to understand what our positions are. If we're going to pull the rug up from under pagans, we're going to have to replace it with what was. Without what? Ridiculing. Without what? Shaming. Without making people feel less than because they don't know. Okay? So I'm going to talk about that. And brothers and sisters, there's another end of the spectrum that you probably didn't even look into, that it takes time to understand. Things have been turned upside down. And I'm going to give you some examples. Pagans were not allowed to practice paganism without the threat of what? Capital punishment. They had to navigate in secret and in hiding, knowing the consequences. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't have to hide, but things have turned upside down, where we've been reborn in a pagan world, and they have the upper ground. So this is why Christ told us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. It's to a degree now that those with the truth have to almost go in hiding like the pagans, the witches and warlocks and sorcerers did in the Old Testament. And that those with truth are ostracized and demonized like they used to be. So with understanding that, that's right. Being that the pagans have the power now, they're looking to execute capital punishment.
When I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, then we dealt with military-oriented, highly trained, programmed shooters and assassins inside of them. When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We're sitting at a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring and recording them. And they were the most sophisticated satanic warrior type person. They knew 5-6 languages. They knew the ancient Twilight languages. They knew how to conjure. They knew how to use Belteshazzar, Okwam, all these old Pictish languages of the Druids to summon. They are the real Luciferian. They've been through many human sacrificial things. So they sat there to tell me some of those things, what they've been involved with, how they sacrifice a human. I'm listening to all this stuff from them. And then they said to me, you have no idea, Russ, how many of us there are out there. How many satanic, they use the term, chosen ones. You have no idea how many. You have no idea what's coming. We smell Christian blood. We are waiting for our day. And when the call is given, millions of us will be released. And they looked at me and said, you believe in revivals and you believe in Pentecost and the power of God. You believe in all that. We believe in the Black Awakening, a multi-continental release of power to activate the program demonized, where they've weaponized the demonic powers to these super soldiers.
Like our God did when they were in hiding, when they couldn't practice out openly. And you have to understand this is the world that Christ and the disciples had to navigate through. We're going to deal with some wisdom today. Some serious wisdom, because sometimes this awakening, this truth, the understanding of this book, you don't understand the power you're wielding when bringing forth the light to those who are in darkness. You think it's going to be received with joy like you've received it. So there comes a level of wisdom and patience to know when it's time. See, and that's what teachers understand. All things isn't for everyone. When it's time to actually bring forth certain teachings, when it's time to do what? Turn the dial down and just operate amongst the people without sinning. Still, bide in time. Bide in time to do what? To declare the gospel, the truth. It comes with a certain level of wisdom, because automatically we get into a room and we want to talk. And there's no better time to deal with this than at this time of the year. This time of the year. Christmas. Everyone is in what? The holiday spirit, the family spirit. Finally able to come together. They're not thinking about paganism and everything else. They're thinking about an opportunity to come together when they could. Do we excuse that behavior? No, we don't. But understand that if you don't operate in the right spirit with these people who are living under paganism, believe it or not, that particular spirit can work in collusion with other pagans to destroy you. So you're going to get some wisdom today. We're going to get some wisdom today. We're going to talk about it. Now let's go into the New Testament, where it talks about involuntary worshiping of angels.
Yes, sir. Colossians 2, verse number 18.
Get a little closer, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Mic. Let no man beguile you of your reward.
Don't let any man beguile you of your reward. Now these are they who are leaning more so towards what? Righteousness. Who's seeking truth. Don't let no man or woman beguile you of your reward. What's your reward? We're seeking a kingdom. We're seeking a kingdom that will one day restore the preserved of Israel. Let no man don't let no man trick you out of not receiving that reward. Read by what?
In a voluntary humility.
In a voluntary humility, which is what? It seems like it's a humble, innocent path or choice. That's a voluntary humility where you're making a choice outside of the Bible's true directives. Right? It's a voluntary humility. It seems nice. It seems like it's harmless. Oh, it doesn't. Let me go into the Buddhist temple real quick, or the Hindu temple, or a Muslim mosque, because it seems peaceful. That's a voluntary humility if you don't know the gods that are being worshiped in that temple. You're only going there because the people seems nice. Right? We're only dealing with, well, it seems like they're family oriented, that the people seems nice, there's peace there, the music's nice. And the disciples were saying, no, let no man beguile you through voluntary humility. You can't just look at whether or not people are nice and it's a good gathering. Know the gods that are being worshiped over that temple. If I go into Muslims or go into the belief for Muslims, Islam, I'm not going to interact in the temple of Muslims, even though I have, believe it or not, people that I've met that I've considered cordial friends outside of their temples. They will never beguile me to allow me to go amongst them, because I understand the history of Islam. I know that its origin is Persian mythology, the worship of many gods. It's pagan, it's polytheistic. It's against the doctrine of the Bible. See? The same thing with Christianity. I'm not going to allow someone to invite me in their church when I know the origin of pagan Christianity, when Constantine converted for political reasons, not because he accepted Christ. So that now they could merge paganism with Christianity. I can respect a person who treats me cordially and respectful without getting that twisted. Okay? I can cordially interact with anybody, but you will not convince me to worship your God. I have the history of your Christianity. Your Christianity isn't the Christianity of the Bible. And if you want to know what that is, you're going to see it today. And this is no indictment. I'm not here to attack anyone personally. This is my choice as an Israelite navigating through a what? A pagan world. See? Read it again.
Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility.
An involuntary humility, because what they'll do is say, you never heard of this before? This is the ancient way. Well, guess what? Any way is a good way to the children of slaves who have no history, who have no attachment back to our original culture before, and our original traditions before Africa. Ooh.
Living in a strange land where we don't belong, subjugated to sin, they required a song. They came to our shores and took us away. Once kings and queens relegated to slaves.
Africa. So anything looks good to us. We're in tatters. Okay, we're in a community of total chaos, confusion, no family. So any introduction into a better way sounds good to us. Right? So listen to this. Let no man beguile you what?
Of your reward.
Of your reward.
In a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels.
And worshiping of angels. Because this is what you all don't know, folks. Every religion on earth has powers or angels that are worshipped.
Is taking place.
The new pope is yet to be selected as we see the black smoke coming from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel.
The entire world is watching and waiting. Which is why this is the perfect moment for our revenge.
Every religion on earth is set up to worship a higher power or angel. Every religion. But our God is the God of all gods. And that's the difference. You're not going to get me to relegate my spirit to worshiping a pecking order of gods like pagans do. when I can go straight to the top? See? We go straight to the top. We don't have to burn a candle to Mary and burn a candle to this saint or that saint. We don't have to ask Mary to ask her son for something. We don't have to go to Allah and his daughters under Islam to get to the high God that all of them know exists. Muslims and Christians, Hindus, pagans, they all know about the greater God but refuse to teach that God to us. See, they know about the greater God, but they serve all of them separately. And this is what Paul is saying. Why? He had to teach this because our people were being converted out of a pagan world during the time of the disciples. So I had to think of that. This morning I was thinking of that and said, you know what? Paul and the disciples weren't as abrasive or disrespectful as Israelites are today.
You are a devil.
They were navigating through the same world with the threat of the same punishments, but knew how to interact. I'm like, that's the key. That's right. When we get this key, and it so happened that this church been operating like that for a long time, since its inception, of not just judging the outward appearance, but understanding that the battle is that's right, against the invisible. Starting with the gods that have all the world in a stronghold. Okay? If we take down their gods by serving the true God, by default, we'll get those within all races of people who belongs to Christ's kingdom. See? So if you attack, someone puts a guard up. Because they're not seeing that. They're not thinking that you are attacking the invisible. You are attacking their way of life, their traditions, their family values. And you're going to come in and just disrespect someone's house because they don't know what Christmas is? Because they don't know what Thanksgiving is? They've worked hard. They strive lawfully, our people and other people, to invite people into their homes in the spirit of love. Is it right what they're doing? No, it's pagan. But we have to have the wisdom to understand what we are amongst.
Christmas. December comes, and children begin to get excited because of Christmas. Today, Christmas is a very important time in the Christian year, but it is also very important to people who do not go to church. It is a time for presents, parties, and time with the family. People start to get ready for Christmas in late October or early November. They decorate their shops with lights, trees, and other decorations. Shops get very busy and stay open later. In the middle of December, most families buy Christmas trees. Put them inside the house and put colourful decorations on them.
And how to navigate and pull people out of it without offending them. See? Here's the timely lesson. Here's the timely lesson. Let no man what? Come on.
Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility in worshiping of angels.
In worshiping of angels, because all religions worship fallen angels. Every last one of them. If you speak to the Hindus, the East Indians, they'll tell you straight out. They'll tell you about this god, Shiva, Diva, which is another goddess. Diva, Shiva, and all these others. Right? That's right. Folks, All of these are fallen gods pre-flood that's worshipped in Hinduism. I've done the research on them. It's involuntary worshipment of fallen gods. This earth is controlled by fallen angels, whether you believe it or not. They're the controllers of this world. They work on the outer constructs of their Babylonian constructs. They work on the outer parts of it and control the people within it.
Minadek der heka erjit nabi. Simakak, abechem hauku.
Angels exist, even fallen. And Paul is saying, well, listen, let no man beguile you in an involuntary worshiping of angels. Because at the end of the day, if we don't serve the highest God, the God of all gods, we are doomed to their judgment, the pits of hell.
All lives end in suffering and
You're
tragedy.
doomed to their judgment. See? Now here's the true ministry that Paul, the disciples, were teaching. Right? Read, instead of just attacking people out there who don't know any better. The majority of the earth is ignorant to a lot of what we're talking about right now. They don't even know why they're worshiping what they're worshiping. They don't even know. It's through, some of them is through tradition because their parents did it. But they don't know the origin of this stuff. And we have to have the knowledge to know that. You're the ones with wisdom. You have the knowledge that, listen, they're only following what their parents taught them. So with that comes what? A level of patience through our interactions. A level of patience through our interactions, knowing they don't know any better. They're only doing what they're if you ask them, well, what was the date that your particular religion began? Who constructed that religion? Right? Who is the powers or gods behind that religion? Now, most people don't want to be upfront to say, well, I don't know. So usually all people in ignorance comes back with an answer like this. Well, there's many religions, but there's really one God over all of them. And this is the answer you'll get. It doesn't matter if you deal with an Arab, a black person, an Asian person who believe in their religion, an East Indian who believe in their religion, an African or whatever who believe in their religions. Mm-hmm. The ignorance will always come from, and it's not their fault, to absolve themselves or to actually not in themselves being able to do the work to actually go back to the true origin. They would absolve themselves by saying, well, it doesn't matter. This is what my fathers did. And at the end of the day, there's only one God, and we're all worshiping the same God under different languages. But this is how they absolve themselves the task of actually going back and saying, you know what? Let me look into what the origin of my religion is. Okay, let me look into it.
Verse number 9.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
He says, give me what?
Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart.
Give me an understanding heart. Read.
To judge thy people.
To judge your people.
That I may discern between good and bad, For who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
Who can judge so great of a people? So the first thing Solomon asked for was wisdom. Brothers and sisters, learning we're Israelites is one thing, but having the wisdom as an Israelite who is Christ is another. It comes with the responsibility to utilize that knowledge with wisdom. And you use that wisdom, we use that wisdom to interact with the world, who so happens to be predominantly pagan. See? You can't expect the whole world to understand your journey, your transformation. So you have to go to the Most High and say, give me the wisdom to judge a people or to help a people, because who can judge such people as God's people? Who can help them? Who can actually get to them? And you don't want to be responsible for doing what? Harming them. Well, brothers and sisters, coincidentally, where we are in the earth right now, even the children of Israel, our people, are predominantly pagan. But they're still the Most High's people. They're still his people. So Solomon understood, like, give me the wisdom to get to shelter your people, to help your people, to guide your people under any circumstances. Okay? So he understood, and he would send Christ later with that same spirit. That same spirit. Okay? On how to guide a people, how to interact with a people who are born amongst pagans. Don't forget, when Christ was on the scene, it was under the Roman Empire. So Christ would come with that same spirit on how to judge such a people. Right now, our people are torn apart. We're destitute. Okay? We are without anything. The Gentiles have ravished us, right? And I need you all to think about this, and I thought about this morning. The only time any of our people get any similitude of love that we should receive all the time is during the Christmas season. That's the only time. Like, I couldn't wait growing up. I shouldn't have to wait a whole year for my parents to be able to show me how much they love me when it comes to getting the things, because we would have to wait to Christmas because our parents just couldn't give us things growing up poor. So at least we're good. We will stay good and under our parents' graces long enough that if we can get to Christmas, at least that's the time where our parents can just scramble together and get us what we need for that one day. And that meant something to us, because why? We grew up without. We grew up not having. And it seems like at that time of the year, people were actually people. Okay? You could feel the love that should have been there the whole year, not just amongst our parents, but our school teachers, the people on the block when we used to go out and sled together and throw snowballs at one another. All the children are happy. Right? So it was the one time of year that we received the love that we deserved as children. For those who were fortunate to get something. Right? So then we grow to the knowledge of the truth with this wisdom and forget that some of our people cleave to all of this because that's the only time they're shown any similitude of humanity. And we don't have the wisdom to understand that if we snatch something away from somebody without showing them an alternative, the grave, irreparable damage it could do to them and their belief in the Most High. Right? So now we must get them, transition them out of that without harming them. Without them reflecting internally and saying to themselves, well, if I can't get this time, the only time that I get any love, then what's the use of any of it? Right? What's the use of any of it? So now we must walk like the disciples in Christ and show them with the wisdom. First and foremost, not to denigrate or shame a person who don't know any better. Not to go up in someone's house and who they'd have cleaned their house all day and did all these types of things, and for us to go in there and say, all of you wicked, you're evil, da 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 da, and they open their doors to you. So we're going to go into those scriptures. They're going to be like, I don't understand. Because they're not even thinking about Christmas. They're not thinking about Santa Claus. They're not thinking about, a lot of them not thinking about anything, but you know what? It's the one time that everyone off that we can show our love to the rest of our families. And you're coming in without the wisdom of how to bring them over to where one day they'll be celebrating Passover. One day, if you operated with them right, they would celebrate Purim. See? Navigating through a pagan world. Right? Elder Lawyer, read on down. What verse you at?
Verse 10. And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing.
So it pleased the Most High that Solomon had asked this thing. That pleased the Most High, but that Solomon didn't ask anything for himself. How do I serve such a people? How do I love my people like you have loved them? How can I help them in the day of trouble? Give me the wisdom to judge such a people, because who can be held with such a task? Right? Read.
And God said unto him, verse 11, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast thou asked riches for thyself.
Come on.
Nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment.
You asked nothing for yourself, Solomon. You didn't even ask me to turn your enemies over to you. There's enemies still out there looking to destroy our people. And not once did you ask me to take down your enemies. Look at that. Read on.
Behold, I have done according to thy works, lo, or thy words, lo. I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee.
Come on.
And I have given also thee that thou hast not, or which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall be not any among the kings like unto thee all the days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as did David thy father.
If you do what?
If thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days.
I will lengthen thy days if you keep the commandments and walk as your forefathers. Now, because Solomon, this is before Solomon's old age, because he had the wisdom not to ask for himself, the Most High blessed him even beyond what he would have asked for. He said, you know what? I'm going to take care of your enemies. I'm going to give you riches. The world will be your oyster. You open it, there's a pearl. Right? One moment. Right? If you follow my law. But guess what? When Solomon ended up sinning, When he sinned, and I'm going to give you this example right here. Let's get it real quick. Hadad. First Kings 11 and 14. But when Solomon sinned, right, the Most High did this. Let's go to 1 Kings 11 and 14.
1 Kings 11, verse 14. And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon.
And the Most High stirred up an adversary to Solomon. Solomon ended up doing what? That's right. Intermarrying with witches. And began to build pagan temples, involuntary worshiping of angels. He started building temples of Shemas, temples to Moloch with child sacrifice, which is the origin, the secret religion. The secret religion of secret societies and Freemasonry came from what happened in Solomon's fall. Okay, the same worships that happened, that Solomon created through his fall, became Freemasonry. Became Freemasonry. So that would be the construct that would keep our people, what? Mentally controlled under a Babylonian construct. So because Solomon sinned against the Most High, read it again.
And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon.
Yes.
Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom.
He was the king's seed of what?
In Edom.
In Edom. See, a lot of y'all didn't know that, folks. That what Solomon created would become, through his sin, will become the religion that would keep our people controlled. Y'all didn't know that. Oh, yeah. I got old encyclopedias. Okay. And this is why one of the secrets of Freemasonry, when they will ask, who is Harim Abith? Who is Harim Abith? And most people are like, who's Harim Abith? I don't see, but under the secret codes that they deal with, under Harim Abith, he was the one that Solomon had the power over and did what? All the wood and all the other stuff that came in to build the temple. Harim Abith was responsible for all the building of that temple. The temple that one day the Edomites would control and that Christ would split in two upon his death, where the Edomites would control the temple that Solomon relinquished to them, believe it or not, through his sin. So the secret would allow the Edomites to not have their separate temples, but to have control through Solomon's temple. See? If they control the temple as the people, the Jews, they control the earth. See? So that's right. It was through Solomon's sin that the enemy began to take preeminence, and the pagans would have the power to operate on a grand scale with the secret knowledge of Solomon. And that wisdom was supposed to be what? You should have benefited our people. The wisdom that the Most High gave Solomon, this is why he put in the scriptures, Solomon, you must continue in the ways of your fathers with this knowledge. You must continue in the ways of your fathers. When he started doing what? Dealing with these women, because Satan sent in the women, and the women began to turn his heart so that wisdom now could be utilized as a way of destroying us instead of helping God's people. Witches, warlocks, astrologers, pagans will now be able to operate freely one day in cities all over the world to control Solomon's people, the people who are entrusted under the king. Listen to me clearly. But then the Most High would send a king that would take away the sins of Solomon to bring us under a righteous construct. This is the knowledge the world powers have been trying to suppress for years. That there's a battle between kings. Edom took over as king over the temple. And they are at variance with who? Our king, Christ. That's the battle. So now we understand that paganism, the fallen angels, all of that falls under Esau's construct. This is how he controls the earth. Paganism isn't going anywhere. How do we navigate within it? Wisdom. That's how. Elder Lawyer, let's get Proverbs.
Yes, sir.
The first chapter. Let's read it. 4 and 1.
Yes, sir. Proverbs 4, chapter 4, verse 1. Hear ye, children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding.
Don't worry about it, folks. People talking about the academy. I'm going to show, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you the books. You don't got to worry about that. In the academy, you'll see what I'm talking about with the books. All right. But this is a precept breakdown. Okay. I'm going to show you the books that they know. Secret books that they have hid. Okay. Hey, you'll see. But that's the greatest battle. Christ's ministry would be converting those into the true righteous brotherhood, which is Christ's work for the kingdom. And there will be a separate brotherhood of sorcerers. Okay, one moment.
When I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, then we dealt with military.
There will be a separate brotherhood, controlled through sorcerers, where they would initiate people.
When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone.
And it will be what?
For quite a while.
The wisdom of this world against the heavenly wisdom that was bestowed upon the disciples. Now, the only way they can get many people under their construct to continue what? Progressing the power of this world was to set up holidays. And with these holidays, it would be incentivized to make sure that people would serve these gods involuntarily. And by doing so, you would stay under, that's right, the craft of Satan. Not Santa, Satan. So a lot of our people don't understand that the holy days come with what? A level of submission to a God. And we were tricked in Christianity to believe that God was Christ. That God is the God of the heavens. When really it's Satan just using our energy in those days to control us, to build their construct, their Masonic construct. So our people don't know any better. They were deceived. And it's like, because we can't take it out on the people who's controlling behind the scenes, we're taking it out on the people, making them feel less than. Are you celebrating that? How you wicked, you evil. That's evil, that's wicked. Nah, we have to use Christ to pull them from up under that. They have to be able to see better in order to convert themselves. Mm-hmm. See? Solomon understood that this is a special people. Like, we're not going to convert them or convert the world into truth while offending them and making them feel dumb or stupid or less than.
So-called Asians, you gooks, all right? You so-called Filipinos, coolies. Yeah, you damn waste of space, all right? Because a damn gook, see, a gook ruling over you niggas, that should anger you, man. They're literally retarded, man. You ever work with a Moabite? They're the worst workers, man. They don't know how to do anything. And you're a Moabite, man. And the Most High cursed Moabites, all right? You curse, you're going into slavery, baby. You can never enter into the congregation. That's right. Damn Moabite, man. I hate Moabites.
Right? So it's going to take wisdom. Listen. Make sure when you get an opportunity, you write this wisdom down that we're about to bring forth to you today. Straight wisdom. And use this wisdom to navigate in the world, not just through holiday season, but throughout all of our interactions, even with pagans. Right? Proverbs 1, let's start.
Proverbs 4, verse 1. Hear ye, children, the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding.
And attend to know understanding. Read.
For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
Hold up. I give you what?
For I give you good doctrine.
For I give you good doctrine. Read.
Forsake ye not my law.
Forsake ye not my law. So what is the only good doctrine according to the Bible? The laws contained in it. That's the doctrine. So if anyone teach you the law was done away with, they are against the doctrine of Christ. That's the doctrine of the Nicolaitans that Christ hates, who Christ hates. When it says that Christ is the end of the law for those who believe, it wasn't talking about the laws given to Moses. The end of the law was what? The sacrifice. Christ's death was what? It was pertaining to a capital law in the Old Testament, which means if you do something unto death, you were to be executed. That's the law that was done away with in Christ. An innocent man died so that we would have grace and an opportunity to repent for what our forefathers died for in the Old Testament. If you committed fornication, if you sinned against God's law, if you committed adultery, if you was caught working on the Sabbath, those were punitive capital punishments. So Christ is the end of that law for those who believe. So that even though we were in sin and did all those things, because an innocent man died for us, we've been given grace to repent and change our ways to follow the true doctrine, which is the law. So when it says Christ is the end of the law for those who believe, well, at the end, he was crucified, capital punishment. That's the law in the Old Testament for those who break certain laws. He's the end of that law. Capital punishment, death, sacrifice, to give our people an opportunity to repent. Christians are wrong when they teach that the end of the law is to not follow the law in the Old Testament anymore. And Christ did away with that. That's satanic. So when it says he's the end of the law for those who believe, it's speaking of the capital punishment, folks. Okay? Let's go.
Verse 2, For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
Come on.
For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, Let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live.
Keep my commandments and live. The wages for sin is death. So Christians aren't being told this. See? They're not being told this. They're being told because Christ came, they can break the law. Well, let me pray over some unclean food the Bible said don't touch. They don't know any better because their pastors taught them this. See? And we're blaming them as if they're the ones who went to theologian school. Right? We can't blame these people. We have to say, well, no, let me give you some let me give you understanding concerning that law. No. Christ don't excuse what? Purposeful, intentional sin. That's what grace covers. What? Unintentional sin. That's what grace covers. You're doing things you don't know is against the law. The cross covers that. Or the crucifix covers that. His death covers that. Okay? He's the end of the law for those who believe. You're not going to be killed for that. See? You're not going to be judged for that. Okay? Come on.
Verse 5. Get wisdom, get understanding.
That's the point. Get wisdom and get understanding. We're getting a lot of knowledge in a short amount of time right now. Like the Most High have opened up the heavens, opened up the gates, and just flooded the earth with truth for those who want it, who would like to receive it. But he says, get wisdom, but get what, Elder?
Get understanding.
But get understanding. See, the understanding is on how to operate with the wisdom. Being an Israelite living in a pagan world. Like, I'm not going to go out on the street and berate another people.
You're gonna get put to death. That's right. She's gonna get took. Yeah. Gonna be a concubine. Yeah. She's gonna like it. She's gonna like it. Hey, how gonna get your daughter? Hey, yeah. Get your daughter, man. Your daughter's gonna be taken. And she with it. We're seeing shit like this. Yeah, it's faggots, man. Momos. Get your woman in order. Yeah. You or her. Yep. All right, you're supposed to be a man. Do y'all believe in the Bible?
Okay, and it's not just, even when I was out on the street, debating, teaching, even back then, it was more teaching from a scholarly type of approach, a respectful type of reproach. Okay? Even out there, Hebrew Israelite, fringes, hair down, Mitri, everything going on, armbands, you name it. And I'm bringing it forth, but it was always what? Teaching strategically with the hope of converting. With the hopes of converting. Considering that person, like, understanding that guess what? Before I was an Israelite, I was the guy on the other side sitting there with a suit, a short little haircut, high top fade, looking in the audience as a pagan. Okay? So when I taught, listen, and I'm not ashamed of it. And this is what happens to Israelites. We forgot from whence we were converted. We forget the point. We forget who we were before the truth came. And I'm like, yo, if someone would have cursed me out and someone would have berated me, I wouldn't have, nah. I would not have operated like that. Now, some people can take that. Some people can take the berating and take all that, but no. Some people are willing to just let things fly over them just to get what they want, but that takes a certain level of knowledge and wisdom and experience to hear what someone is saying, even if they're hurting you, to get the information that benefits you. So I always thought as a teacher, I have to teach as if a person never knew anything at all. Okay? I have to teach as if it's the first time they're hearing this, and that if I say the wrong things, we may lose a soul. I have to teach like that every time I teach. Okay? Read.
Get wisdom.
Get wisdom.
Get understanding.
Get understanding.
Forget it not.
And what?
Forget it not.
Forget not the wisdom and doctrine of this book. This is how Israelites must think. This is how they must operate. Read.
Neither decline from the words of my mouth.
Neither decline from the words of my mouth. The Bible is the mouth of God. Read.
Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee.
It's speaking of wisdom. Forsake her not, and she will preserve you. Read.
Love her, and she shall keep thee.
Love the Holy Spirit, and she shall keep thee. But keep in mind, the Holy Spirit cannot abide in a temple that's subjected to sin. See? So the Proverbs were the wisdoms or the teachings of Solomon and those who are of high understanding. This is what the Most High gave Solomon after that answer. Wisdom. And how to keep wisdom in our interactions with others. Because why? The majority of Solomon's interactions and transactions in the earth before his old age, and I like to keep emphasizing that because Solomon wasn't a wicked man. Okay? But the majority of his interactions were amongst pagans. Right? Y'all didn't know that. Yeah. Queen of Sheba. Do the research on Queen of Sheba. He was interacting amongst pagans. But the pagans were worshiping many gods, including acknowledging the unknown God, the God of the Hebrews. See? Straight out. So he interacted with pagans, but weren't influenced by them. Because the whole earth outside of Israelites are pagans. They're Gentiles. Gentiles, pagans, heathens, it's all synonymous. See? Read.
Verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding.
And with all thy getting, get understanding. So he interacted with the pagans, but we were not to follow or be influenced by that, knowing that one day the Most High was going to tear them all down. Anyone who continued in that service to these other gods would eventually be judged. Would eventually be judged at the very end. There will be a judgment for operating in the spirit of paganism. See? So he interacted with them. And guess what? Throughout the times, when you look in the Bible, a lot of people, Gentiles, converted and were amongst the Hebrews. They renounced their paganism, even in old time. And the strangers of the Gentiles who renounced their paganism began to serve the Israelite God. That's right. You can read that all throughout the Old Testament. You can read that. Where the Gentiles had a choice back then to say, you know what? I'd rather be with them and go straight to the top instead of dealing with this God, this goddess, this goddess, this God. Now, I'd rather deal with their God, the true God. See? Finish reading.
Verse 8. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring to thee honor when thou doest embrace her.
Come on.
She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory, and she shall deliver to thee. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of my life, or thy life, shall be many. I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble.
All right, finish reading.
Verse 12 or verse 13. Take fast hold of instruction, let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life.
Speaking of the Holy Spirit, read.
Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn away from it, and pass away.
Come on.
For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall.
So you got people out there who operate to cause mischief. See? They'll have the wisdom, but without the knowledge and understanding on how to wield it. And they'll go out just to cause chaos. just to cause dissension. See? Read.
17. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence.
Come on.
But the path of the just is as the shining light.
And they did what? Read that, because here's a telltale sign on those who are not operating in the spirit and wisdom of the Most High. Read.
For they eat the bread of wickedness.
They eat the bread of wickedness.
And drink the wine of violence.
And drink the wine of violence. At the end of the day, they're causing confusion, hurting people to a degree where a fight can break out. Looking to what? Agitate to the degree of violence. That's not one who's walking in the wisdom of the Almighty. Okay? That's one that's not walking in the wisdom of the Almighty. Read on.
Verse 18. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day.
Come on.
The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble.
They know not at what they stumble. These are people who aren't discerning, who aren't walking with the wisdom of the Almighty in their interactions. Okay? Read.
Verse 20, my son, attend to my words, incline thine ear unto my sayings.
Incline your ear to my sayings. Wisdom. Read.
Let them not depart from thine eyes. Keep them in the midst of thy heart.
Come on.
For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Put away from thee a froward mouth.
Put away from thee a froward mouth.
And
a mouth. Let me get that. Let me get that real quick. Let me get that froward. Let me get that in the Hebrew. It says, put away from thee. Now, if you're walking with the wisdom of the Almighty and interacting in a pagan world and other people, it says, put away from thee a froward mouth. Froward. Froward, right? Perversity. Froward comes from the word perverse. A perverse mouth. A nasty mouth. Someone who don't know how to interact intellectually, diplomatically, respectfully. So I'm saying that because when we are amongst pagans and other people, here is how they're actually, believe it or not, through our interaction is how they're deciding on whether or not to deal with what we're dealing with. Okay, it's our interactions with them that will determine whether or not this is the belief they should follow above theirs. Right? You got all this knowledge and understanding, and someone asks you a question, you can go to any verse out the Bible. You know the Bible like the back of your hand, and they listening to you, and when they hear you, you got a perverse mouth. So to them, it's confusing. How can you have all this knowledge and precepts on how to break down what they are doing is wrong and not operate in the spirit of Christ when it comes to interacting with people? See? A froward mouth. Someone with a perverse mouth, not understanding what you're saying, is totally wrecking a person. That's perverse.
These bitches can keep doing this shit every year. That's all they
See?
about, man.
So I think some people believe that if they know precepts and can break down the Bible and know that they're Israelites, I think some people believe that they're in the truth just because they know they're Israelites.
Every last one of you so-called white people are the devil, man.
Be afraid.
That's right. He shall thunder. Who shall not be afraid?
Solomon knew he was an Israelite. And eventually, with all the wisdom, he fell. He fell. That's right. And I can go all throughout the Old Testament to show you men who were Israelites, women who were Israelites. So I'm going to contrast this by showing you how the disciples dealt with pagans today. How they were able to convert those who were under pagan beliefs today. Verse, Elder Lawyer.
Verse number 24. Put away from thee a forward mouth.
A forward mouth, a perverse mouth.
And perverse lips put far from thee.
And perverse lips put far from thee. Right? Watch how we interact, what we say. Read.
Let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee.
Let your eyelids look straight before thee. Read.
Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established.
Let all your ways be established towards that singular, what? Focus. The kingdom. Read.
Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left.
Come on.
Remove thy foot from evil.
Remove thy foot from evil. Read. Now, let's get Ecclesiastes 7 and 12. Here's some good stuff now. We're going to start with wisdom. Then I'm going to give you some examples of how pagans had to operate when we were in position, so that you'll understand the flip side. Okay? It was one time a person couldn't exercise astrology outright, witchcraft outright. And I'm going to tell you this, and they'll tell you this also. Well, there is a good craft and a bad craft, as long as you don't use it for bad things. And what they're saying is, well, listen, I only use it for fortune.
Veronica sacrificed herself for Balthazar.
It's still under an angel. It's still involuntary worshipment of angels. So they don't deny that they're witches and warlocks and sorcerers. What they'll tell you is, I only use the light side of the force. See? I only use the light side. I don't use the dark side, but the dark side exists. See? And because of this, the Most High made it clear they are not to deal with familiar spirits. They are not to deal with astrology. Now, why aren't we to deal with astrology? I'm going to tell you why, brothers and sisters. We are not to deal with astrology because why? There's certain natures of people that comes through gates where they'll have a certain demeanor based on what gate they came through, which the Gentiles turned into the zodiac, where there'll be certain behaviors based on the time of year you came into the earth. Well, people aren't supposed to know about that. You're supposed to interact with the person naturally to get to know them and not realize what their archetype or what their behaviors are, because that can be used as a point of manipulation through psychology. Psychology is witchcraft. Psychology is witchcraft. Again. Okay? Now, you can know something about a person and have what? Their best interest at heart, and you can figure out who they are and what they are about to actually do what? To help them. I only use the good part of it because I know your nature. So based on someone being a Libra or being a Scorpio, I know what they like. So this is the things I'll do based on the knowledge I've learned about them without interacting with them. That's a craft.
I have been seeing spirits since I was a little girl, and I always knew things when I was a child, and I've developed it to a place where I can help others with it, and I've dedicated my life to it. Hi. Hi, I'm Shar. What's your name?
Jiggly.
I'm hugging you. Is that okay?
Yes. Hi.
That's such a cute name. Did
Thank
you give
you.
yourself that name?
Yes.
This is Sunny. So I'm going to read for you.
Okay.
So the way that I work is that I communicate with spirits, so you're not afraid of the dead, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, as long as it's not going to be like the Conjuring, we're cool.
No, that's all the positive energy,
Okay, yeah.
all the goodness, love, and God. That's all I connect with.
Cool.
Okay, so you ready?
Yes. ready.
Okay, let's go. You can just sit over there.
I wasn't expecting anything. I just walked in just blank. Let's see what happens. Just open-minded to anything, and let's see what they have to say.
I always say a prayer of protection before I do this.
Sure.
Not that this is a religion, it's not. But as in everyday life, there are good and bad people.
Yeah.
There are positive and negative energies in the spirit world.
Okay.
And I'm very aware of connecting to the highest level of goodness and love. I don't go to any other neighborhoods.
Okay. Okay, good.
We ask the universal consciousness and God to guide and protect us. Anything in, near, around, or about us that is not of light, go back to where you came from. I just throw that in just for safekeeping. So I see somebody that's deceased.
That's a craft. It's used for manipulation. And we weren't supposed to deal with it at all. You were supposed to deal with the person, and your interactions you would try to figure out a person, which is part of the love you would have for them. See? And they took that all away, where now, no soon as you meet a person, what's your sign? And then when they go away, they'll look it up. Boom, 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 boom. What do love and romance and all this, and sign what this person like and all that. And now you can manipulate, not getting to naturally know a person before witchcraft came into play. It's a craft. Witchcraft, sorcery, all of that is for manipulation, to get our way. To get our way, doing what? Figuring out a person without actually having to figure them out. Interacting with them. It's evil. But now we can practice that. To us now, we've been so desensitized. Astrology is just a natural thing to get a newspaper, get online, and look at what the stars have for your sign today. And if we were found doing this in the Old Testament, guess what? You were found reading horoscopes, put to death. You were found sitting amongst someone and they're reading your palms and all that. That person was put to death, and you were put to death. See? Finish reading.
All right. Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, read Ecclesiastes, Elder Lawyer, 7 and 12.
Ecclesiastes 7 verse 12.
Wisdom, come on.
For wisdom is a defense, and money.
Wisdom is a what?
Wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense.
Wisdom is a defense, and also money is a defense. See? So money was supposed to be what? Utilized as a tool to gain wealth, to protect your home. It's a defense. Read.
For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense.
And money is a defense.
But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
And that's the excellency of knowledge. Is that what?
That wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
Wisdom giveth life to those who have it. With the wisdom of the Almighty, you'll know how to deal with the knowledge. And if the Most High give you money, you'll know how to use it as a defense. A fool and his money will soon depart. See? So money is an evil in of itself. Unless you're coveting. Unless you're breaking the laws. See? When you're doing something against the law, then the money is being used to do what? To perpetuate the behavior. So we look at money. Oh, money's bad. No. The love of money is the root of all evil. See? And you would have to know the wisdom to how to deal with it. I just wanted to throw that wisdom scripture out there with you, because some people think that if people get money or a person get money, that's wicked or evil. Nah. That's a thwarted mentality to look at it that way. You have to look at whether or not someone strived lawfully. It's nothing for the Most High to make a rich man poor overnight or a poor man rich overnight. You have to look at how he got the money, whether or not that person strived lawfully. Okay? Because one thing about us, we're quick to judge if someone has something. We're predisposed to believing that the only people that can get something without it being examined are our oppressors. But more on wisdom. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 9, Elder Lawyer, 9 and 16, because this is what I want to get to, especially with these holidays coming. Read.
Sir. 9 and 16, I'll take it down to 18.
Ecclesiastes in the Bible, 9, 16 through 18.
Then said I, wisdom is better than strength.
Wisdom is better than strength. Read.
Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard.
Read that again.
Then said I, wisdom is better than strength.
Come on.
Nevertheless,
the
poor man's wisdom is despised.
The poor man wisdom is despised. Read.
And his words are not heard.
And his words are not heard. Now, why does it say the poor man's wisdom is despised? Don't forget, I said that things were turned upside down. And even back then when we were in power, the aged understood, the wise understood that a poor man's words are despised. So understand we're living in a pagan world who judge people based off of how they've benefited or whether or not they've been blessed through the wisdom that they claim to obtain, that they claim to hold. Now, let's translate that to what's going on in the world today, right? Someone invites you to a party or some place where something pagan is going on, or you're living in a house, under your mother's house or your father's house, with all the wisdom you learned online, YouTube, you're there every Wednesday, you're there, and you're in someone else's house where they strive lawfully to make a place where you can stay to feed you. Understand their perspective when you're coming to them and telling them, well, yeah, this is evil, this is wrong, this is wicked. They're looking at you and they're saying what in their minds? Read it again.
It says the poor man's wisdom is despised.
The poor man's wisdom is despised. What they'll look at you and say, with all the wisdom you have, you're living with me. You're under my roof. Okay? With all the wisdom you have, it didn't give you the knowledge on how to stand on your own 2 feet and be a man or woman of the Most High so that you can open your house for the holy days that you say are right. So we have to understand when we're under a subservient position in a pagan world. And it's nobody's fault that we're under a subservient scenario. We have to navigate with the wisdom to be able to say what we need to say. You can't be in someone's house all year and then make them feel like an enemy during this time. When you depend on that particular house and that particular place for shelter. That's not wisdom. See? That's not wisdom. Because it tell you, read it again, and I'm giving you wisdom here.
Wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, poor man's wisdom is despised.
You have a poor man. And it's probably not his fault or her fault that they don't have much. But they'll be doing all the talking and telling people who have worked all of their lives and built something what they should or should not do. You have to understand how they're viewing that as pagans. Because what they know is, with all the wisdom you have in scripture, you should have put that into work. To be able to stand eye to eye with me, with all that wisdom you have, to be able to correct me. Okay? Use your wisdom as a defense for your family and build yourself, strive lawfully with that wisdom so that the Most High can excel you like the men of old, the women of old, to where the pagans had to respect them because they walked with the wisdom and the wisdom benefited their lives. Now they have the spiritual status to stand before a pagan and discourse and interact without offense. See that? A wise person living in someone's home isn't going to what? Isn't going to offend the home that they're dependent on. Let me give an example. Years ago, around 2005, 2006, I lost my home. Right? I lost my home. My mother at that time, don't forget, my grandfather, my mother's father, was a Christian pastor. He ended up going blind, learned the Bible in Braille. It was only later that my mother told me that a lot of things I'm saying, my grandfather told her. But at this time, my mother was still under the Christian way. She believed in Christmas. She believed in putting lights out sometimes and putting the wreaths on her doors. And, you know, she didn't want to be the only house not having Christmas, right? Because she grew up saying, I'm not going to show that I'm without, and while these other people are showing their kids something, right? Understand that's the mindset of most people. I lost my home. So I had to go into the basement of my mother for a while and ask her, can I stay there while I get on my foot? Get back on my feet. I went and cleaned out the basement. It took me a month to clean that basement. It was horrible, but I cleaned it, put new sheetrock up, and I made that thing nice so that I can stay and get on my feet and work hard. I prayed 3 times a day. I opened my Bible and I studied, and I put my head to the ground and I worked. My mother was still dealing with pork. She was still dealing with a lot of things that I disagree with. She was still filling out Christmas cards and sending Christmas cards all over the place to show people how much she appreciates them in her lives. She would have a stack of Christmas cards like this and write it out with people. And this is how they shared their love as pagans. And I remember her doing that. She knew what I believed. At this time, I was full-fledged Hebrew Israelite Elder Ricard Shiar. She knew I disagreed with that. But what I wasn't going to do is to disturb her world. I came into her world as a grown man, and I wasn't going to disturb her world by telling her what she's doing in her house was wrong. With all the knowledge, and I could have. At this time, I knew the Bible as well as anyone I've known. I was a high general, all these other things. And I had to the Most High humbled me. I was homeless. And you know what? I needed that place to stay. The last thing I was going to do during Christmas was go upstairs and just totally throw her world out of whack and tell her, listen, you're wrong. This is wicked. You know, the Most High don't like this. And everything I seen, what was in the refrigerator, everything was wrong. But you know what the opportunity did? The opportunity allowed her to see real time whether or not her son believed what he was preaching. That's what it allowed. because I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I made the house a better place while I was there. I didn't antagonize her. I didn't make her feel less than because she still loved Christmas. Okay? I made the house worth more than it was by building the cellar up. I kept my head down and I worked and I worked and I worked until I was able to put me and my son into a separate place. And you know what happened? After the time that I was in that house, brethren, she converted without me saying anything. She converted. One day I went over there was no more pork in the refrigerator. She started asking me more about what I believed. Because what I didn't know is that she was watching me the whole time to try to figure out what was this stuff I was in out there. And at that time, I didn't have no time to slow down where she can observe and understand what I was teaching. It was my life living in her cellar that converted her, because she realized that this wasn't a fad, that this wasn't some joining a Muslim. She realized that there was a different man that she had living in her cellar. That's what she realized. And you know what? It was my interacting with her without browbeating her that changed her altogether and began to ask questions concerning what I felt, what I believed in. And at that time, I realized, you know what? A lot of us are doing these things wrong. People are looking at our lives as an example, and that converts them. Not all. My mother don't know the precepts like that and be able to go into the Bible like that to be confirmed through precept. These people look at life and look at how you're living to whether or not the Bible is correct. Suppose we run into a person, brothers and sisters, who's very articulate and can perceive, but cannot read at all. We're going to run into those. And they'll be converted without knowing one precept. You had something to say, Elder Lawyer, or are you good?
Just on that point. I mean, we have plenty of people who could not read until they started obviously studying amongst us, and through time began reading the Bible through necessity. But we have plenty of people who couldn't read, but just through the, either example or hearing the truth and things of that nature, they became converted. So there's plenty of those examples. And it goes back, what you're mentioning, if I can go back and read what we read earlier in Proverbs 4, what you're saying is very key, because that's just the reality of it. You're not going to always be able to teach a person through going through breakdowns and scriptures for hours and things of that nature, but it's going to be the life example that you set that is going to convert them. Yeah. Even in the holiday thing, people following holidays, so on and so forth, they're not going to always hear or have you tell them from year to year how wicked they are, how evil they are. What they will see is how you conduct your life. And that's going to be the key point of conversion. Just reading here. Yeah. It says, Proverbs 4:24, put away from thee a forward mouth, and perverse lips put far from thee. You can't convert somebody by cursing them out and telling them how evil they are from year to year. Yeah. It's not going to work. Let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee, as you were mentioning, putting your head down, working, staying steadfast. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Stay steadfast. Remove thy foot from evil. So that's the key point. That's what people are looking for.
Exactly. There's many ways of teaching, but the best experience that a person would have that leads to conversion is their interactions with you. Mm-hmm. Right. They're watching. Okay. And it's deep that she understood, and maybe this helped more so than anything. She knew the whole time that I disagreed with her beliefs. She would still go to church on Sunday sometime and all that. And not once did I disturb her world. Yes, mama. No, mama. Yeah. Now, I wasn't going to drive her to church, but if she wanted to get there, hey, her friends were there. I'm like, well, hey. And that's what probably messed up with me more so than anything, because she seen me sometimes when she went downtown, see me on the street talking about Sunday and all that. But I was what? I was a poor man living in her house with much wisdom. Right? And I tell you, the wisdom of a poor man is despised, because people are looking at all that wisdom and saying, you know what? It's a shame with all that knowledge, you're not using nothing. You're not using nothing for yourself to better yourself, to show an example that you can live a righteous life and show forth your work to even unbelievers. You're just doing lip service and saying that you know the Bible, but you're living in my basement. But you're living in my basement. So the wisdom of a poor man is despised. Even the wise men knew that you have to have something to tell somebody something. We're living in a world of pagans. So you're not going to correct them, because they're looking at your life, how you're living your life. Did what you learned benefit you? See, if what you learned didn't benefit you, how do you ask me to come down? This is how the world, navigating through a world of pagans. You see what we're saying? Israelites surviving a pagan world. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the good thing about it is, if she had, I'm going to get off this because there's a few other things I want to touch on. If she did have some issues where there was an argument or she disagreed with the person or whatever the case is, and she asked me my opinion on it in the house. Well, Junior, what do you think about this? Carol said this, that, and the other, that. How I dealt with it, was that correct? Now, she asked me about something, and I would give her the wisdom of the scriptures as the answer to it. Well, Mom, you should have said this because of that, because the scriptures say this, 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 and this. Oh, yeah, that does make sense. But listen, it wasn't me going to her with it. She came to me and was seeking answers based on a separate interaction, and I gave her the wisdom the Most High gave me to do what? To patch up a long relationship she had with a friend. Right? So the opportunity will afford itself. It will present itself if we're there for the opportunity. But if you move yourself out of the way of the opportunity, okay?
Earth has been a trip, man. All praises to the Most High. First thing I want to do is denounce all these abominations. Denounce all the abominations. All them pagan holidays, Sunday church worship, bowing down to false idols, eating pork, catfish, and shrimp. I'm denouncing all that right now. And it's a whole lot of other abominations that I don't even do. So I ain't gonna even mention them. But yeah, they had me worshiping this wannabe Christ with blonde hair and blue eyes. That ain't nowhere near Christ. So I started reading my Bible so I can show myself approved. I'm giving the pastor all my money, and he ain't even teaching me the truth. The pastor got a nice car, but I'm sitting up here struggling. I can't even pay my bills, man. Something wrong with this. Say I didn't found the truth. I believe my grandparents lied to me. And I was going to church. None of our grandparents did no research to tell us the truth. They just believe what the pastor said. That's why you see the smile on my face, yeah, they had me celebrating Christmas, man. That's Nimrod's birthday. That ain't Christ's birthday. And you remember back in school, All them Christmas programs, man, they been dumbing us down since elementary. Taught us the wrong history. These people almost cost me my soul, man.
While I was searching for some answers, this world had enslaved my mind.
They was enslaving my mind, man. Your mind too. And read your Bible.
But when I found the truth, I knew the Most High opened my eyes.
But the Most High opened my eyes.
I can finally see right now.
Yeah, they taught us the wrong history in school too. Had us thinking we was Africans, man. Africans don't even claim us as they people. Think about that for a second.
And that's why you see the smile on my face, yeah.
So we found out that we the 12 tribes of Israel. The Negroes are the real Jews. Now we know God's name. His name is AHAYAH. We call him the Most High. We never use his name in vain. Now I know how to praise the Most High. And give him all the glory. This world done dumbed us down so much, man. They was calling my brother named Jesus. His name is YASHAYA. Some call him YASHAYA. Man, they lied to us, man. Go look up the letter J and find out when the letter J was invented. 500 years ago, man. His name was never Jesus. His name was YASHAYA.
That's why you see
he had a Hebrew
face, yeah.
Coming back with a new name. The Most High built up his people. It's gonna be the most
that's
beautiful
why
thing.
you see the smile on my face, yeah.